Jai Hind बच्चों. Today we'll do one more topic of chapter 6 of class 10th, that is transportation in plants. In previous videos we have studied about exchange of gases. See how the plants they take carbon dioxide, how they release oxygen. Right? So in this video we'll discuss how they will take water and how they will take other raw material that is required for the building of plant body. So, the richest source of this material, that is of raw material, is of soil. Clear? So, plants they take this raw material, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, and other things from the soil. Okay? And the part which is in contact with the soil is root. Right? So, if the plant is small, so if they are attached to the soil, so in that case there is hardly any, see if it's like that soil distance between root and the other part of the plant is not much, hardly any distance. The other part of the plant is also just attached to the soil only. So in such cases there is no need of a transport system. Only simple diffusion, through simple diffusion things can be transported to all parts of the plant. Yeah? So proper transportation system is not required. But if the plants, there are tall trees, in case of tall trees, see roots, the distance between root and the soil, leaves is too much. So see the distance from here, from root to the leaves. Here are leaves where the main photosynthesis occurs. So from here to here, this part, raw material has to be transported. So for that, proper transportation system is required. Clear? So simple diffusion won't work for transportation of even for water, for other raw material. Clear? So now how they plant, they do this, how they transport this water from the soil to the top of the plant. Clear? And secondly, in transportation also, like here leaves, they are the main area of photosynthesis. So from here the photosynthetic product has to transport to the different part of the plant. So for that also a transportation system is required. Okay? So that food is also transported to the, even root also need that food. So for that, how they do it, that also we'll do in this video, or maybe in next video. Here we'll do the transportation of water. So how they do it. Clear? So for transportation of water, how plants transport water. So we know that xylem tissue, that is the main for transportation of water. Through the xylem tissue, water transported to different parts of the plant. Okay? And we have studied the structure of xylem tissue. So in the xylem tissue, there's a vessels are there. You can draw this rough sketch in your exam also. Roughly you can draw quickly this type of structure. See, these are the vessels where there are, see, this is one vessel, this is another vessel, and these all are connected. Clear? And these are xylem parenchyma. These are cells, xylem parenchyma, and these are tracheids. So they all have these perforations, these holes you can say. They also have these pits, we call them pits, perforations. And these tracheids, they are also connected. So these vessels and tracheids, they form a continuous channel from roots to the tip of the plant. So they all are interconnected. So this is a structure you can easily draw in your exam and you can show. And these vessels are interconnected and form a continuous tube or a channel, and same way these tracheids also interconnected. Now we know that roots, they have like main root, primary root, secondary root. Now with the roots, they have root hair also. So these root have, they have very fine thread like structure, and they are single cell thick, and they play a very important role in absorption of water, right? So they increase the surface area also, and they are one cell thick, so easily can absorb water. So how they do it? See, if we study one root here, see, so this one root here, it is surrounded by these soil particles, and in between soil particles water is there. Clear? So these root hairs, they root hair, these root hair, they take ions. They're in the soil. We know that the ions are like sodium ion, then your potassium ion, then phosphorus is also there. So they take these ion through active absorption. So active uptake of ions happens in this root here, and this active update is through expense of energy. So energy is needed in the form of ATP. Okay, so these ions are absorbed by these root hairs. Now what happens? There in the root hair, concentration of these ions increases than that of the soil which is surrounding these root hairs. So here ions are absorbed by root hair, and there is more of ions in the root hair than that of the soil which is surrounding these root hairs. So due to this difference, water enter into these root hairs. So we have studied the phenomena of osmosis also, how it works. So more water moves from low concentration of salts or solute to high concentration of solute. So water, it gush into these root hair. See? So now I'll explain it again. These ions, they root hair, they absorb these ions, and that is through active uptake. That is with, because the active uptake is at the expense of energy. So more of the ions are in root hair than that of the soil which is surrounding these root hairs. Clear? So just to eliminate that difference, the water gush into this root hair. Clear? Now, so there is a steady movement of root hair in steady movement of water in these root hairs, and moves into xylem, and form a continuous column, which push this water upward, and which create a pressure in the root, because the water moves inside this root hair, and from the root hair to main root, and this form a continuous column, and because of that there is a pressure, and this pressure is called root hair. This pressure is called root pressure. So this root pressure, this pressure is not enough to move water to the tip of the tall trees. For small distance it's okay. You must have seen in the morning time, there is a droplet of water on the tip of the grass or tip of the small plants leaf like money plants and all. That is because of this root pressure only. Because that time there is no evaporation. At night evaporation is less. So this root pressure, through this root pressure, water center, there is a continuous entry of water, and that comes out through these root tips, because of this root pressure. But if that water has to go to the tip of the tall plant, so this pressure is not enough. So how it happens? How water move from, like if it's a tall plant, if you say this is level of soil and it's a tall tree, so now water has to move from this area to this tip of the plant. So we are aware of the phenomena called transpiration. Yeah. So what is the meaning of transpiration? The loss of water. From here, there is a continuous loss of water during daytime. What happens during daytime? There is a continuous loss of water. Water evaporates from these stomata that is present in the leaves. So in the aerial part of the plant, there is a loss of water. So what happens due to this loss of water? This water is evaporating from this area, and the water is moving. There is a soil. Water is there in the soil. Clear? And it is moving in this xylem, that is in vessels. So evaporation of this water, this create a suction, which pulls this water from the xylem of the cell, xylem of the root, xylem cells of the root to the tip.